Hold on, wait a minute. Let me put some boom in it. That wasn't necessary, was it? Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. If it's a welcome back for you, hi, how are you? If it's your first time here, welcome to my book channel. And if you hear snorting and you've never heard that before, that would be my dog pulling every toy he owns out of his toy basket. All right, go! Anyways, today I am doing my very first ever book tag. I am so excited about it, more so than is probably healthy or normal, but I just love this tag. I love that it actually sticks around every year. It's so nostalgic, and I've watched so many booktubers do it over the years, and I just love that it keeps defying the years and defying time. So, yeah, I've never done one. I'm just so excited to share some of my favorite books from this year with you, to go through these prompts, and hopefully next year I'll get to film it again. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. A heavy hitter for the first question. Best book I've read so far this year. I've read so many great books. I've also read a lot of mid books as well, but I would probably have to go with these two books. Also, I think I will struggle to choose like only one book for these categories. But I think everybody who reads books has the same problem, so I'm not alone in that. But I just read Five Survive by Holly Jackson and Happy Place, Emily Henry. I think I read these in the same month, so that was a killer, wonderful month. But these two different books, for sure, very different from each other, but both amazing. Emily Henry is iconic. She really can do no wrong. This one is really about found family, really close friendships, what happens in friendships when college ends, and it has some romance in there. A perfect Emily Henry book for my standards. And Five Survive is a thriller, standalone by Holly Jackson. I loved this book. I thought it was so well done, so fast paced. It all takes place in one day. And you guys, I'm gonna stop talking about them. This isn't a review, and I've talked about these books too much already, but it's those two. And here's a little cheeky reread. Normal People, Sally Rooney, stands the test of time. I know it's not new to me this year, but it was a great reread. I think I loved it even more upon the reread. And this is an honorable mention also for a later question, which is Most Beautiful Book, but I did not get this one this year. So I'll show it to you guys anyways, because it's my pride and joy. Like, consider. Yeah. So I had to throw in this honorable mention, but yeah, great book. Pick it up if you've never picked it up before. All right, our next question is best sequel I've read so far this year. So both of these I do not own physically, but first is Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I loved this one, and it turns out actually not a ton of people did, but I just thought it was such a great installment to this series. I can't wait for the next one, like literally edge of my seat. I was looking up yesterday when the next one comes out. It's not until 2024. But I love this series. It's such a fun, cozy mystery, and this installment like has sold me on it even more. The other best sequel I've read so far this year would have to be 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. This one is, I want to say like number 5 in the series. I love this series. I am in my Nancy Drew era always, so she really gives us that vibe. It's a little bit like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, although I would say both like are remarkable. I just think if you like one, you'll like the other. So that was another great series installment, another mystery series. So what can I say? Maybe mystery series are where it's at for me. All right, next is new releases that I want to read, but I haven't yet. 2 came to my mind instantly. First, Tress of the Emerald Sea. It's by Brandon Sanderson. It's a retelling of Princess Bride. I don't know what more I could want out of a book, and it just recently came out. I honestly didn't even know it was coming out, so that one is pretty high on the to buy list, so I can read it. The other one that's pretty high right now on my to-read list, and I think either everyone is starting this book, reading this book, thinking about this book, it's Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, I think. You guys, this one, I mean, what more can I say? It's fantasy. I think it's a romantasy. I want to say there's romance in it, but everyone's talking about it and I feel left out. So that one is also on my new release to read list. All right, follow-up question to that one is most anticipated releases for the second part of the year. So both of these are quite exciting and they both come out this summer. So it's like these are right around the corner for me. And they are Hello Stranger by Catherine Senner. I really enjoyed The Bodyguard this year and I'm excited to see what she does next. I definitely need to be reading her backlist, but what can I say? A new release gets priority, usually. My next most anticipated release is The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer L. Barnes. This one is building off the Inheritance Game trilogy. I'm really excited about this one. Obviously, I can't get enough of the Hawthorne brothers in my life, so this one will be an instant buy for sure, no doubt. Now, getting into more books that I have actually read this year, our next question is, what books were the biggest surprise to me this year? Number one is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. This one I felt like didn't have a ton of rave reviews. I hadn't really heard anything amazing about it, and the Goodreads reviews I don't think were super high, but I ended up giving this a 4 stars and absolutely loving it. The other one that surprised me was, yet again, Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I loved this one. Like, I really enjoyed the first two, and obviously I was enjoying the series enough to keep reading, but this one, like, it takes the cake. I loved it. It was a 5-star and I just didn't see that coming. It was like out of left field. So those were two that really surprised me this year. And the opposite to that question is kind of the books that have disappointed me the most this year. And I just want to preface this with the reason these two books disappointed me so much is because I love these two authors. So like, I'm still gonna buy their new releases. I believe they can be redeemed, but unfortunately, both of these books were misses for me. So first is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I love this author. He's written 2 of my favorite books literally ever, but this one really fell flat for me. It wasn't what I thought he was capable of, and maybe this story just wasn't for me because I know people still loved this, but it ended up being a 2-star and I was just really let down because obviously I love his writing. He's an amazing author, so he can be redeemed and I believe we will come back stronger from that one, but it was a tough read for me. The other one is Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. Again, I love her YA novels. Better Than the Movies is so amazing. The Do-Over, I really love her writing style and the stories she chooses to tell. Her characters are great. However, this one, it was kind of a step into adult romance, and I just felt like the steam in it fell flat. The story fell flat in a lot of ways. It had some good banter, and I liked the text message aspect throughout the book, but it just ended up being meh for me, and it was even more of a letdown just because I love some of her other works so much. The next question was a bit tricky for me. It was new favorite author from this year. Unfortunately, I don't really feel like I found a new author that I love this year yet. But there are 2 authors that I consistently love, and honestly, you should see this coming because my 2 favorite books this year so far have been from these 2 authors. So, Holly Jackson and, you know it, Emily Henry. These 2 are 2 of my favorite authors. They're an automatic buy for me. They are not new to me this year. I had already read Beach Read, and I have yet to read Book Lovers, actually. That's next on the docket. But yeah, they're automatic buy authors for me. I think they can do no wrong. And that it just is what it is. I am excited and hopeful that I'll find a new author that I'm obsessed with this year. But for now, sticking with the tried and true for me, it's Emily Henry and Holly Jackson all the way. Our next question covers a pretty important topic. It's favorite book boyfriends of the year. For me, the ones that instantly came to my head were Nick from Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I'm not like, I don't really have a cop fantasy myself, but like Nick in these books, he's creating one for me. He really is. He's a one-man band. He's doing it all. Love it, living it, love him. Next is Win from Happy Place. And I actually like saw a lot of Win slander, and I liked him. Like, I guess I just felt like he felt like a real guy, and I liked his depth, and I liked that he actually like struggled with things and talked about them. And I don't know, I just felt like he was really real and raw, and he stole my heart. What can I say? But I also pictured him different than she described him in the book. JS. Because then she's like describing with golden hair. I'm like, oh, I had a jump scare. You know what I'm saying? Because we're into the dark hair over here. Unless it's like Heath Ledger and then like, okay, we're playing a different game, right? But I need a dark-haired main character, that's for sure. And my last, more honorable mention is Jackson from The Switch, Beth O'Leary. He was just sweet, he was forgiving, he was kind and patient, and he also like, I really like how he wasn't going to go over boundaries with our main girl. Like, he was gonna let her sort out how she felt, and he was just going to express himself and not like force himself on her. Consent. I mean, I guess that's a low bar, but I just really enjoyed his character too. Moving on from that very important question is books that made me cry this year. I'm a little sad thinking back because I'm like, I don't think enough books have made me cry this year. So that's something for the latter half I hope changes. Is that bad that I want to cry? Let's move on from that. Anyways, first up is Magnolia Parks. This book just, it just got me. Some of the feelings in it, some of those like push-pull emotions. Tears, you know, my eyes were welling up, no doubt. The other one is Happy Place, Emily Henry. I don't know what it even was, just like somewhere in the middle, I just needed to cry. So, thank you, Emily Henry, for just hitting the spot, hitting those emotions right in the gut. Am I right? Am I right? The other side of that coin is books that made me happy this year. So, I have two that came to mind like instantly, and once you even see the covers, you're like, oh yeah, those books would make anyone happy, right? All right, first is The Do-Over, Lynn Painter. This book was so fun. It was so captivating. I loved it. It's a Groundhog's Day retelling of Valentine's Day, like too adorable to even handle, and it just made me joyful. I love a good YA romance. What can I say? Especially from Lynn Painter herself. The other one that came to mind was The Bodyguard by Catherine Sinner. This one was kind of silly and goofy. It had some good banter. I just overall thought it had a very happy note and enjoyed reading it. I didn't feel like there was like too much drama. I didn't feel like there was too much sadness. Like, I just felt like it had a very upbeat vibe overall. So again, can't wait for her next release. The next question that I was so excited for, was the most beautiful books that I have come to own in this last year. So it was hard to narrow down because I also had that honorable mention at the beginning, but I've really been enjoying going to resale bookstores and thrift stores and finding these beautiful copies. So I'm going to talk about two that are kind of special edition copies that I found at used bookstores, and then one that is just the normal cover. So like if you wanted to go out and find it, you could absolutely find it. So first is this copy of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I haven't read it. This one is a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition, but I saw this copy and I was like, you're coming home with me. It's so beautiful. Hopefully it'll inspire me to actually read a classic. So there's that first one. Next, I have another classic, would you believe? It's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This one is in collaboration with Rifle Paper Co., who I love so much. I have so many of their stationery products. So this one was like a no-brainer, had to be on the list. Super pretty. And I know they have a lot of classics that they've redone. So yeah, hopefully you could find one. I found that one at a thrift store. Last but certainly not least is one you could go out and find today. It's Legendborn. This one was just so captivating. I've heard such great things about this story, but look at the cover. I mean, like the blue like shadow on her hair and in her eyes. I mean, this is one that you get and you put on your bookcase to display. Like, it's not gonna be like this on my bookcase. It's gonna be like this. You already know. And here we are at the final question. There are a few more questions in the tag, but I just felt like they didn't apply to me so far this year. But here is our final question, which is books that I need to read before the end of 2023. First and highest on that list is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, Sarah J. Maas. I mean, this book, she's thick, okay? She seems like quite the commitment. And then I have to read the next one. And then the last one comes out in January. So it's like, I don't know if it's the last one, but the third one comes out in January. So like, it's just a commitment, right? You're making a commitment when you start this book. And I have not been able to do it yet. But I know it's gonna be amazing when I finally do. So that one, highest of priorities for this year. Honorable mention also to Shatter Me. Again, it's a series and it's a fat series. So it's like, if I get into this, gotta get all the books and I only own the first one. So, you know, a commitment. And a book that you see on every TBR I do. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This one, okay, you guys, my main problem with this is I open the book and I'm like, I'm gonna start this today. And then I see at the beginning, it tells you like everyone's names. Like it's got a whole list of the cast and it goes on to the next page and I'm like, oh no. I'm immediately overwhelmed. That's too much information I cannot digest. But I should really be more chill about it because it's like, you know, if I come across a person while I'm reading that I don't remember or don't know, I can flip back to the beginning and figure it out. But every time it does turn me away. But hopefully I get to this and Crescent City before the end of the year. That would be ideal if I could make that happen. Here I'm gonna put in a little addition to this tag. I've seen a few people do this and I really enjoy watching this part. I'm gonna check in on my Goodreads goal, which is 75 books. I'm currently at, as you can see, 35. So I think I'm about 2 books behind being on schedule, but that is okay. 2 books is doable. I could fix that today if I really wanted to. But yeah, we are on track. Hopefully I will hit 75 books. Also, the other part I've seen people talk about is kind of their hopes for the latter half of the year, which I thought was really fun. So for the rest of the year, I'm really hoping to do some more fantasy reading and less romance contemporary reading. I love romance, but sometimes I do feel like bogged down by it and things start to read the same, feel the same, and I think books get less of a great rating from me because of that. So I'm hoping to get into my fantasy era and keep reading mysteries. That's something I've always done. I've always read a bit of thriller and mystery, but this year I've just really been loving them. So I'm hoping to find some new ones. Besides that, I am hoping that I am not in the middle of too many series going into 2024. I'd like to wrap up some series and really get through my physical TBR. There are so many books on my shelves that I had never even looked at past buying them. So I'd really like to get through a huge chunk of my physical TBR by the end of 2023. I had so much fun filming this tag. I've always wanted to do it. I didn't get tagged to do it, but I did decide to do it nonetheless. So if you want to do it, please go ahead and do so. If you'd like to just answer some of the questions in the comments, I'd love to read them. I'll make sure to leave all of the questions below so you guys can look through them. I'll also include the questions I didn't answer. There were just a few in there that I felt like I didn't really have a great answer for this year so far, but hopefully by the end of the year, we will have even more books to talk about than I did today. Cheers!